Hello my fellow friends of terrain building and welcome to another terrain building tutorial. Today I want to show you how and with which techniques I have built my Laketown houses. So here we will go through the entire process of this particular house, but I have made many more with different shapes, and the techniques that I will show you, they're quite universal in the sense that you can make many different Laketown houses, but also just in general any kind of wooden based house. In the end, as usual, as a little goodie, I will show you the finished terrain with all the houses that I've made. And yes, I hope you enjoy, and let's get into it. For the ground floor of my house, I have prepared a cuboid of 8 times 10 centimeters in length and width and 6 centimeters in height. Yes, the material is styrodur, and the 6 centimeters in height are the standard height of my styrodur plate, but I quite like it as a floor height, so I've been sticking to it. Now for the first pillars on the side here, they need to be carved out a little bit in order to make sure that they can be glued exactly to the cuboid and not just added like this. So as a first step, what we do is we take a metal brush like this, and we simply brush our pillars gently, but not too gently, and this gives it a nice wooden pattern, right? So this wooden structure, I hope that the camera is nice enough for you to see. And now later on, if we paint it, it will look like wood. Then the next step is to carve out all of my pillars. Here I have 2 more. And the way that we do this is with a hot wire cutter. So I have prepared the hot wire cutter already to be a 0.5 centimeter width. And then the way that we do it is we simply take the pillar, we place it in the middle like this, and then we drag it in halfway and we pull it out. And I will show you in a second what I mean by drag in and pull out like this to make sure that simply 1/4 of the pillar is gone, and preferably not the sides which have been brushed with a metal brush, because now it can be glued to the cuboid like this, and it just looks much smoother than if we don't carve out the pillars. So now as a next step, I will do the same procedure for the other 4, and I'll come back after. The 4 pillars have now been glued to my ground floor, and also they have been fixated with these pins to make sure that the glue can dry and they don't move anymore. Now the floor looks already quite nice due to the pillars, has a nice look, and as a next step to finalize the wooden look, we take some planks. Let me show you real fast. These are very thin and about 1 centimeter wide. And then as a next step, they will be glued all next to each other like this, covering the entire front. And this gives it a wooden plank look and to finalize the outside of our floor. So now I'll show you this as well in time lapse, and we'll come back in a second. Core has been done now, and you can see that I've also created this door and as a plain surface, and the door has a width of 3 planks. So yeah, just to make sure that people can actually enter your house. You've also seen that I've taken a cutter and cut the top part off of the planks. Of course, it's always possible to prepare them before you glue them to the correct height, but in my experience there's always something going slightly a bit too far or a bit too low, and then it looks weird. So in my experience it works best if you just put it on the ground, you glue it, and then you cut the top part off. This way you can really ensure that you have nice wooden planks that sit perfectly in place. Also, you have seen that I have used this top part of a dart arrow, and just to highlight more the wooden structure of the face, and you can of course use something else. Before I've used a pencil, but over time the pencil didn't work so well anymore, so I've switched to the dart arrow, and yes, this works quite nicely. Now, as we've done before, we need to brush as well with the metal brush the faces of the house. But before we do that, we have to create the windows, and this is very important because in the end we want to have our windows with a surface that it does not have a wooden structure, so we have to do this first. And also we have to give the door a door frame, and here it can be quite handy if we have kept the cut out pieces from our side pillars, because then they can simply be used to glue the door frame with them. The ground floor, I've shown you before in time-lapse that I've glued together the door frame, but actually I've made a tiny ordering mistake myself, where I've decided before that I wanted to structure everything with the metal brush before, so I've taken the frame off, then I've been structuring, and then I put them back on. Not a big deal, but just to make sure that there's not as many edges. For the windows, as you can see, the outer frame is a little bit thicker than the ones inside, giving it a real window look. And also crucially, now you can see that the structuring with the metal brush has taken place only after the window has been glued to the side of the house, to make sure that the inside, the glass is actually kept in plane and not with this wooden structure. This concludes the ground floor of our Laketown house. After several further hours, also the first floor of my Laketown house is half finished. Here the cuboid measures 14 times 15 centimeters with again the same 6 centimeters in height. The format is the same with the pillars on the side and the windows, etc., and also the wooden planks on the faces. They have been made in exactly the same way. However, only the left and right faces, the top and the back, they are not there yet, because for the front face, I want to have continuous planks that also cover the roof, so they will only be glued once the roof has been added to the first floor. Something which I have forgotten, a little step which I always do, which I like because I think it lightens up the faces a little bit, is I take some planks and I horizontally glue them next to the windows like this, just because I like the look. And once this has been done, then really the ground floor and also the first floor, they have been half finished so far. Something that I've thought about is how do I want to build my house actually, and I would like to do it like this, so not central, but rather shift it a little bit to the side. Here I show it an opposite way, but I think it's quite clear because down here I would like to have a kind of fish shop, a fish stand, but of course you're free to build your house in whichever way you like. You can centralize the ground floor, or you can centralize but put it to an edge. Here you're really free, and personally I think that having various structures kind of lightens up the different houses to make them not all look the same. As you can see, we have made quite a bit of progress so far. In particular, the roof itself has been added, and here I have chosen a 35-degree incline. Also on the rear end here, you can see that my wooden planks, they have been sharpened at the bottom with some tiny gaps just above, but really the creativity is the limit for you here, whatever you like, just to get some variety into the planks. Also, here next to the windows I have to think about what I want to do. Maybe I want to again glue some of the horizontal planks or put in some arcs. Not sure yet, just to get again some variety. The next step is to make the roof tiles themselves, and for this I've prepared a cuboid like this one with which measures 2 centimeters in thickness and is very long. And then from this cuboid we will cut away several thin tranches like this one here, and you can see that these tranches, they have on the sides some small cuts. So this one is very large, on the other side it's a little bit smaller, and these cuts, they serve the purpose of making the tranches look as though they would be planks that are 1 centimeter wide, so have the same width as the other planks. Additionally, these tranches will also be structured with the metal brush again from the bottom part. So then later on, once they're glued the other way around, or then if you're looking from the bottom up, you will see again a nice wooden structure. And then these tranches, once they're glued onto the rooftop, they are the foundation for gluing the tiles later on, and they serve not just with the standing out to give it a little more structure, but also they serve as orientation, because every 2 centimeters you can re-glue and you can reorient. So we have made some more progress in the meantime, and I think you've already seen the dormer in time lapse, and also how I've been gluing the roof tiles on the side. And the way that we do this, the process here, is to take 1 centimeter wide thin stripes, and then with the hot wire cutter again, every centimeter I put in these tiny cuts, and then I cut the entire block into very thin tranches. Just like these ones over here, and then you take many of them and you simply glue the entire tranche onto the roof one by one. And I think this process is a very good compromise between time efficiency and look, because I'm very happy with the way that it looks in the end, and also you don't have to glue every tile by itself individually, and you save a lot of time, and also you make sure that they're nicely aligned. And of course you can see that some of the stripes for the roof tiles, they are still way too long, and they stand out quite a bit, so of course they will have to be cut. On the other side over here you can see that I've made a chimney from a simple cuboid, and then cut the cuboid at the same 35-degree incline as the roof itself, to make sure that, well, the top part of the chimney is parallel to the ground. And now you can see that the top is still flat, but what I'm gonna do next is also layer the chimney top part with some more bricks individually to make it look to create a real hole on the top. Once all of this has been done, the top part of my Laketown house is finished, and then everything that remains is to glue it to the ground floor and to add in a few pillars on the side. Having seen the final few steps in time-lapse just now, our Laketown house is finally finished. And yes, the techniques that I have shown, they can lead to many different types of houses. So here, for example, is one kind of style, but you have many options to play around with. For example, you could make the dormer smaller, bigger. You can play with the window size, the window shape. You can play with the wooden planks. You can play with the pillars on the ground floor, and how you arrange the ground floor with respect to the first floor, etc. So really, your creativity is free to play around as you like. And so yes, this is the final house, which I'm going to present now, and then afterwards I will also show you some of the other houses that I've made, and in the end the final terrain.